Povetkin looked sharp at the live workout yesterday. His weight looked good, he looks trim, and as I mentioned in a previous video, that's something Povetkin has been very, very consistent with over the years, and that's his weight. He's barely fluctuated since his debut to now. He's perhaps fluctuated within the space of 10 pounds, but he's always weighed from the low 220s to the low 230s for his whole career. And when he turned pro, I think he was in his early or mid 20s. Now he's 40. So it's pretty incredible that he stayed so consistent with his weight throughout. And as I say, right here in the live workout, he looked very trim. His hand speed looked good. And Povetkin will be the most technically sound fighter that Dillian Whyte has faced in the ring. Now, some people might say Anthony Joshua is technically good, but Anthony Joshua was still very raw when he fought Dillian Whyte. So even though Anthony Joshua has gone on to improve since then and become technically better since then, Dillian Whyte fought the raw version of Anthony Joshua who just came for a brawl, basically. Okay, so I'm saying Povetkin will be the technically best fighter Dillian Whyte has faced as a professional and the guy with the best boxing brain. And I pointed this out in another video, but I just want to go into a little bit more depth now. So I analyzed some of Povetkin's strengths in this video back on December 3rd, 2019. This was in the run up to AJ's rematch with Andy Ruiz. And I was pointing out some of the things that Povetkin does as a pressure fighter that Andy Ruiz doesn't do, like how he moves his head better, like he throws better feints, and he sets his power punches up in a more sophisticated fashion than Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz really just trundles forward, hits you with a jab, and tries to pressure you into throwing something. And then when you do throw something, he's got really fast hands and he'll start wailing away. It's fairly straightforward what Andy Ruiz does. With Povetkin, he's more sophisticated. He's got better head movement. He come in low. He'll feint with one hand, make you expect an attack from, let's say, the left side, but then he'll come and attack you on your right side. Yeah, so there's a much more sophisticated approach to pressure fighting by Alexander Povetkin than there is by Andy Ruiz. And then there is by Oscar Rivas or Derek Chisora, two of Dillian Whyte's previous opponents. Now, there's one particular move that Povetkin is very dangerous with, and there's several moves, but this move has, led to a lot of success for Povetkin in certain fights, like against David Price, like against Anthony Joshua, as I'm about to show you. And that is what I just described a few moments ago, where he comes in low. So when you've got a small heavyweight who's coming in low, it's already awkward to hit them. If they're low and standing stationary, then you can, get an uppercut in or adjust to their height and still be able to hit them. But when they're low and they're coming forward, okay, but they're coming forward at an angle where you can't quite get the uppercut and you're just trying to figure out where they're going and what they're doing, then they feint and make you think they're going to throw a shot with the right hand, but then they come up with a left hook. And Povetkin throws very short hooks and very short right hands as well. This is where the danger is. Now, when Povetkin is in this crouched position, he can feint with the left and then throw a right, or he can feint with the right and then throw a left. Okay, he does either or, and he'll keep you guessing in terms of what he's going to throw next. In this particular situation, as you'll see, he hits Anthony Joshua with a left hook. Then he follows up with an uppercut and then another left hook, and that's what put Anthony Joshua on rubbery legs for a moment at the end of the first round in their fight. So let me play this clip from the video I made December 3rd, 2019, explaining Povetkin pulling off this move.
In fact, the first round of the Povetkin fight.
Turn up the volume a little bit for you guys.
Was another example of when AJ tried to hold center ring and he got punished for it. Povetkin, who, even though he's older than Andy Ruiz, doesn't have as good a stamina as Ruiz, doesn't have the energy, probably isn't as durable as Ruiz anymore. Povetkin is more skilled than Ruiz. He's got better upper body movement, he's got quicker feet, and he's got better punch technique. And in the first round, it was towards the very back end of the first round against AJ, Povetkin came in low. See, unlike Andy Ruiz, he's coming in low. So AJ can't hit him with the straight right hands coming in very easily. And he's also, rolling from side to side to avoid AJ's uppercut. He feints a right hand, and look, AJ's trying to hold center ring. He's not moving back. He's trying to hold center ring. Big mistake against a come forward pressure fighter like this with quick hands. Feints a right hand, and then he actually hits AJ with a hook first, then an uppercut, then a left hook, and AJ's legs buckle. That was towards the back end of the first round against Povetkin.
Now, if you want to go back and watch that fight, watch this video and, hear me explain myself more fully in terms of the stuff I was saying about Povetkin in this video, then that's the title of it right there. Anthony Joshua, bad mistakes he needs to correct for Andy Ruiz rematch. So I talked about how it was a bad idea to hold your feet against Povetkin, but that's if you're Anthony Joshua, okay? Anthony Joshua has a certain style, he has certain abilities and attributes, and for him in that situation, it was a bad idea to hold his feet and just wait for Povetkin to come to him, wait for Povetkin's attack. Better to get out of the way of the attack, and he learned to do that later on against Povetkin. That's when he started getting in control of the fight, and he managed to stop him, okay? For other fighters, you might be better off standing and waiting for Povetkin to attack you, because not all heavyweights have the same skill set. Not all heavyweights have the same level of punch resistance. Not all heavyweights are as adept on the inside. Okay? So it's different strokes for different folks. Don't take that as me saying, if Povetkin comes at you, you should never hold your feet no matter what fighter you are. No, for Anthony Joshua, it wasn't a good idea. And I was making that point because it also wasn't a good idea for him to hold his feet against Andy Ruiz. And I said that even prior to the first fight that AJ had with Ruiz. Those videos are still up on this channel. Now, getting back to Povetkin against, Dillian Whyte and the things that Povetkin does very well with that, I guess, signature move where he comes in low, feints with one hand and then hits you with the other hand. That's something Dillian Whyte is really going to have to watch out for. And this fight between Whyte and Povetkin has been billed as the battle of the left hooks. Don't sleep on Povetkin's right hand, because that right hand is very short. And ask David Price about how powerful it is. In fact, ask Anthony Joshua. He got hit with several of those right hands in the first few rounds against Povetkin. So if Dillian Whyte is training for a short left hook, and he should be, but if he's concentrating on blocking that shot, mentally thinking about when Povetkin's going to throw that shot, he could get caught out by Povetkin's right hand. Where, again, Povetkin pulls off this move, he comes in, he is low, he feints maybe to throw a left, and then hits Dillian Whyte with a right hand because he's been training to expect that left. At close quarters, see, this is why I think early on in the fight, Dillian Whyte should avoid engaging at close quarters, or at least keep the engagements to a minimum. I think he should approach this fight in a similar way to how he approached the rematch with Derek Chisora and the fight against Oscar Rivas, where he should utilize movement. Dillian Whyte is never going to be Muhammad Ali. He's never going to be Jimmy Young. Okay, he's not going to be some incredible fleet-footed heavyweight. But he does have the ability, as we saw against Chisora in the second fight and in the Rivas fight, to keep a shorter armed opponent at range for prolonged periods during rounds and during the fight, whereby he's not looking to engage up close, or he's trying to minimize the amount he's engaging up close. And I think that that's what he needs to do against Povetkin, is minimize how, and look, not engaging up close doesn't mean he has to be on the back foot. I mean, if he can push Povetkin back, but keep it long, right? You know, the way that Klitschko used to push people back, but keep it long, or the way that Tyson Fury kept it long against Deontay Wilder, but he was pushing him back on the end of a solid jab. If he could manage to do that, that would be great. Okay. But whether he's on the back foot, in the middle of the ring, or on the front foot, he needs to keep a certain amount of distance between him and Povetkin, because he does have the longer arms, and I think he needs to take advantage of that. And when he needs to move and whatever, and get Povetkin to chase him and get Povetkin to expend energy trying to launch his attacks, I think that's what Dillian Whyte should do. At the end of the day, this is a 40-year-old man. This is not a guy who wants to have to work hard for his openings. So don't give him what he wants. Don't give him his openings on a silver platter by standing in front of him early in the fight when he's fresh. I think that would be a mistake for Dillian Whyte to take that risk. Yes, if you take that risk you're also going to create openings for yourself. But boxing is about being strategic. And from a strategic point of view, I think it's a mistake for Dillian Whyte to take those kind of risks early in the bout. I think he's better off boxing, getting Povetkin to expend himself early, countering when he can, being careful of Povetkin's feints and the tricky stuff that Povetkin does, because he's got a very good boxing brain. And in the second half of the fight, that's where Dillian Whyte should look to maybe get a bit more physical. And again, he's going to have to assess the situation. His corner's going to have to assess the situation. Maybe it will be a slow fight in the early rounds. I don't know. Okay. I don't think so, but anything could happen. It depends on what strategies these guys have got coming into the fight. So let's just say it ends up being a slow fight for the first, 5, 6, 7 rounds. That changes things. That means that Povetkin's still got plenty in the tank. And therefore, if you decide to take it to Povetkin in the second half of the fight, you could still be in a lot of danger. Okay. So you got to play it by ear. But if you can get Povetkin to expend energy in the early rounds, the same way that Anthony Joshua did. Not that Anthony Joshua was trying to get Povetkin to expend energy, but Povetkin did expend energy in the early rounds. As the fight progressed and AJ started creating more distance, he wasn't holding his feet as much. He was moving more. He was getting Povetkin to have to work very hard to get close to him. And he was also hitting Povetkin with those jabs to the body. That slowed Povetkin down sufficiently. And it also created openings, right? Because when Povetkin is trundling forward and he's trying to cut down the ring and he's coming in low and doing all this kind of stuff, there are going to be lapses in concentration when you're fighting like that, particularly when you're nearly 40 like he was when he fought AJ and he's actually 40 now. There are going to be lapses in concentration where you can't keep up that constant movement all the time. You're going to stand straight up sometimes. And that's when AJ caught him. He, I believe, went to the body with one shot and then came up top with a right hand to the head and was able to drop Povetkin and, put him away. So for me, that's what Dillian Whyte should be looking to do. The basic strategy that AJ employed after the first couple rounds against Povetkin, I think that's what Dillian Whyte should be looking to do. Just move around, get him to work hard, and then you look to capitalize once he's expended some energy. And as far as what Povetkin should do, I'll talk about that in a separate video. But this was my Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin keys to victory. I think it's, from a strategic point of view, quite straightforward in terms of what Dillian Whyte needs to do. Whether he can execute or not is another matter. It remains to be seen. But just the idea is that you draw Povetkin's sting early. You get him to work hard, trying to get close to you. And then you take advantage of any mistakes he makes throughout the fight. But with the expectation, I guess, that he's going to be more tired in the second half and therefore there are going to be more openings for you then. So if you want to hold your feet more then and want to step in more then, it will probably be there for you. Okay. But as with every boxing match, you have to play it by ear and you have to be willing to go to plan B or even plan C if need be. So we'll see how this one plays out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I know there are some people who say, no, Dillian should hold his feet from very early in the fight, and he shouldn't move around and he shouldn't try and create distance. He should just go toe to toe with Povetkin and try and bully him and hurt him and all this kind of stuff. Well, Dillian is a big, strong man and doing that, it might work. But again, I just feel like why give an older, very experienced, very skillful, very dangerous fighter opportunities that you don't need to give him? I mean, even the Sky team is saying Povetkin's best chance is early. And I think that's probably true, right? Povetkin against Anthony Joshua gassed in the second half of the fight. He didn't gas in the second half against Hunter because he had plenty in reserve because he really didn't do much in the first half other than defend himself. So he was under so much attack in the Michael Hunter fight early on. He was so busy defending himself. He didn't really throw many shots. In the second half of the fight, he had plenty left in the tank so he could, work a bit more. But generally speaking, Povetkin comes out quite strong in the early rounds. And, he's not the fastest starter you've ever seen, but he comes out relatively strong. We saw that against AJ. We even saw that against Hughie Fury, right? So he can start quite strong. But as the fights progress, and he has learned to pace himself better over the years, Povetkin, definitely. But again, as the fights progress, generally Povetkin gets a bit more worn down in the second half of the fight, especially at his age. So, why give him opportunities early when he's going to be fresh? When you know that this is the most skillful heavyweight you've ever been in the ring with, at least in a pro ring with, why give him the opportunities? You got the longer arms, use the longer arms. You have the ability to keep it at range and take a little walk around the ring. Why not do that? We know Dillian Whyte is a good counterpuncher on the back foot. He's got that nice left hook. He can even counter you over the top of your jab. We saw that in the rematch of Derek Chisora in the first round. He caught Derek Chisora with a right hand counter over the top and wobbled him. So, yeah, I think that a more circumspect approach by Dillian Whyte is the best way to go. Because you're dealing with a tricky guy. It's like Oscar Rivas isn't as tricky as Povetkin, but he's more explosive and he's more athletic, right? Oscar Rivas, young guy, powerful, fast hands, real solid jab. Rivas's whole thing is getting in there and trying to intimidate you and hurt you as quickly as possible and establish his dominance as quickly as possible. And Dillian Whyte was kind of circumspect. Yeah, he waited for his openings. He was boxing on the outside. He was moving around a little bit. When he found an opening, bang, he caught Rivas with a right hand in the second round, So boxing that way has worked for him in the past against come forward fighters, just being a bit more circumspect and not just trying to go to war with them from the opening bell, not trying to get in there. Okay, I'm going to push him back and I'm going to do. Being circumspect has worked for Dillian. So I think he should carry it on here. But as I say, with those moves that Povetkin likes to pull off, where he comes in low and he feints with one hand and then hits you with the other, he needs to be very careful of that, particularly the right hand. And even the left hooks. Dillian Whyte has got a great left hook, but how many other great left hookers has he fought? I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, Anthony Joshua's got a good left hook, but it's not as good as Povetkin's in terms of how sophisticated it is. In terms of the way that he sets it up. AJ has got a good left hook, though. He's got a good lead left hook, but we didn't really see it much against Dillian Whyte. It was more AJ's right hand and his uppercut that we saw against Dillian Whyte. Who else has Dillian Whyte fought? Parker's not really a big left hooker. Rivas, not really a big left hooker. Derek Chisora, he's got a decent hook, but again, he's not renowned for his left hook, more so his right hand over the top. So, yeah, even though Dillian Whyte has got this great left hook, he's never fought nobody with a left hook like Povetkin. So I wouldn't be so quick to try and exchange left hooks with him. That's basically what I'm getting at here. Yeah, it's like AJ's got a good left hook, but Andy Ruiz's left hook was faster than AJ's. And AJ found out in that first fight, it's not a good idea to exchange left hooks with this guy. As good a left hook as AJ's got, not a good idea to exchange them with Ruiz. If you can hit him with a lead hook and then get away, you might be able to do that here and there. But in terms of like when you see him going for a hook, you try and beat him to it, not a good idea. And I would say the same for Dillian Whyte against Povetkin. Not a good idea to be looking to trade left hooks with him. I think Dillian Whyte could come a cropper if he does that. I think he needs to be more sneaky with his hook and reserve it, for countering and maybe in the second half of the fight when Povetkin is not so sprightly. Yeah, assuming he isn't. So anyway, as I say, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about my analysis of this fight, the keys to victory for Dillian Whyte, the things he needs to watch out for, the strategy he needs to employ, in my opinion. And let me know what your view is in the comment section below. Let's have them out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content.
It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.